Well, guys, if you haven't heard, yes, the real estate market is changing. What's up, guys? It's McKeown back again with another video this week. And if you haven't watched a lot of what I have been filming lately, it's all regarding the real estate industry as a whole and the changing that is going on. Now, ever since the beginning of 2020, the real estate market really took off. Once you give people the opportunity to really live wherever they want to live and probably afford a much bigger house than they ever thought they could, you're going to have a little bit of a shifting of population across the country. And that's certainly something that has happened here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Now, unfortunately, and I would say probably fortunately as well, because that real estate market that just went absolutely berserk is not something that was sustainable. So really over the last 30, 45, maybe 60 days, we're sitting at the middle of August now, the real estate market has absolutely started to change, and change honestly for the good, back to a typical or more standard market. Now, I personally have already made a couple videos, one detailing the reason why I've kind of stopped growing my real estate team, and number two, what direction I have decided to head with the real estate market changing and kind of what I'm doing to save money, to spend less money, and just make sure my business long-term is not just profitable, but something that I can continue to do and not stress over in the future if the real estate market continues on a downward trend. Now, in this particular video though, I'm gonna be discussing all of the real estate brokerages and all the national news that we've seen these brokerages go under in the last 45 to 60 days and the adjustments that they are making as large companies to adjust to the real estate market. So the first brokerage that I'm going to talk about is Redfin. I think all of us have used Redfin. I think all of us have actually heard of Redfin. And I'm gonna give you a quick analysis, not being an individual that has actually worked for Redfin, but an individual that has seen Redfin from the outside in, I guess you could say. So Redfin is a brokerage that hires individualized real estate agents and puts them more on a salaried position, meaning I salary myself because my company that I own makes enough money to salary myself. Well, a lot of real estate agents out there do struggle, and they do struggle with consistency or being told when to be at work or being told what exactly to do. So Redfin, to give you the easiest breakdown of what Redfin is it's really a salaried real estate agent. Now, on top of being a salaried real estate agent, they also give you all the perks of being employed, meaning medical, dental, life insurance, so on and so forth. So if you are someone that's looking for a little bit more stability, Redfin is a great option for you. But because Redfin is so heavily staffed, they're actually a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning for every 2 staff members, they have 1 realtor, because those staff members oftentimes are the realtors. So Redfin is very, very heavy when it comes to expenses. Oftentimes, and I can give you an example being my business itself, staff is oftentimes the most expensive part of owning a business. So Redfin itself, early on, when the market started to adjust itself, laid off a considerable amount of employees. That means agents as well. So to give you guys a rough number here, Redfin laid off about 8% of its entire workforce. Now, to give you guys a reason why, obviously if the real estate market is going incredibly crazy and a ton of people need to buy houses, a ton of people need to see houses, writing offers, submitting offers, and working clients through a transaction, then obviously you're gonna have a significant bloat, I guess you could say, of employees. Just like when mortgage rates hit an all-time low, mortgage companies were hiring more than they could ever imagine just to hold up with all of the demand. I can tell you now, mortgage companies with rates and where they are now are dealing with no refinances. No one's reaching out asking for a 6 or 7% interest rate, which is where interest rates are right now. However, over the last couple of years, interest rates dipped into the low 2s or mid 2s. So of course, if you had a 5 or 6% interest rate at that time, you wanted to refinance to a lower amount. Refinances now for mortgage companies just don't exist. And that's why mortgage companies right now are certainly struggling as well, because that's been a huge part of their business in the last couple years. Now, to go along with Redfin's deduction in workforce back in June, and to give you guys a date here, it's June 14th when this was announced, Compass also laid off about 10% of its workforce. Now, Compass is another real estate brokerage, and it's quite different than a lot of other real estate brokerages, including Redfin. Now, Compass, again, is a brokerage from my perspective. I'm looking on the outside in. It is a very, very heavy tech-forward brokerage. On top of that, they are very, very well known for their marketing and their advertising. They are more of a luxury brokerage, per se, and a brokerage that a lot of high-end realtors work for. Now, one thing with Compass that made it different than other brokerages is when it started to grow, it was given a certain amount of marketing dollars. Now, those marketing dollars were paid for by investors with the intention to go reach out to a large company or a large team, a large real estate agent, write them a nice fancy check and say, hey, come over to Compass, work for us for 2 years, and we're gonna give you all of these perks, all of these free marketing, all of this free stock, all of this free stuff, and we're gonna give you a nice check to start you with. However, the downside here is if you go and pull individuals, write them a nice check and offer these perks to them, they're going to have to get that money back somehow. Now, Compass is a brokerage and one of the few large brokerages that don't have a what we call cap. A cap is basically a certain amount that you pay brokerage, and once you pay that, you're done paying them. You're only gonna pay them probably a small amount per transaction. Well, Compass designed their model with the intent of never having a true cap and bringing strong and producing agents over to the company with the intent to continue to earn money from them and never really have to worry about that money stopping. I'll give you an example. Me, myself, I pay a 15% split. However, that 15% split ends at about $12,000. Now, with my production, that ends anywhere from 1 month to 3 months into my calendar year with my brokerage. Now, if I worked over with Compass, they have maybe a 10 or 12% split, but I never cap, meaning that first 1 to 3 months that I would normally cap at my brokerage, I would carry that cap for the entire year. Meaning for the entire year now, I am paying Compass anywhere from 10 to 12%. 10 to 12% over the course of my year, especially as an individual such as myself that's continuing to do more and more business, it becomes more and more costly for me to be at that brokerage. So a lot of the agents that they brought over initially see the tremendous opportunity joining Compass early, but also see the amount of money that they're spending. And I personally know someone in the Bay Area that's paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to Compass every single year. And they've started to realize that that amount really is not a positive return, meaning they're not getting a couple $100,000 in value from the brokerage or from Compass itself. Now, the main reason why I wanted to make this video was a continuation of that drop off in employment. Now, we actually have new news coming out at the beginning of this week, August 15th, with an additional, I guess you could say, bad news for Compass. Now, with it being August, a lot of these real estate brokerages have been unveiling their profit or loss over Q2, and Compass unfortunately had a significant loss of over $100 million. And as I discussed earlier, a lot of what I personally am doing with my real estate business, meaning slowing down the growth of my team and really exiting the option of growing a team, as well as letting go of some staff. This also happens obviously at a much larger scale for these large real estate companies. Now, Compass itself, because of having such a major loss in Q2, they are actually discontinuing what I just mentioned they did to start to grow the company. No longer are they going to be having those marketing dollars to reach out to individuals, to reach out to teams, to write them a nice fancy check and say, hey, come over and work for us for a year, come over and work for us for 2 years. They are no longer going to be able to offer that to agents, which is a huge financial incentive that brought a lot of real estate agents over. And not just real estate agents, but real estate agents that had a significant market share or influence in social media. Now, to add to this financial incentive that a lot of new real estate agents get with Compass, they are also not going to be offering any stock incentives. So no longer are they going to be adding that financial check per se. They're not going to be offering any stock to new agents that are incoming to Compass as well. So moving forward, it may be difficult for real estate agents to see the value in Compass, especially when they may compare themselves to individual agents that got, those financial incentives or got a significant amount of stock bonuses or opportunity for stock, especially when you compare to other brokerages out there that are openly giving stock away. Now, with an ever-changing market, obviously brokerages are going to try to find ways to retain agents as well as to bring new agents in. Now, they are, speaking Compass, are doing one thing in terms of commission breakdown to try to incentivize agents to come over. Now, me, myself, I have an 85-15 split, meaning I pay my company 15%. Now, if I did work for a brokerage that had a better split than Compass did, I'd be able to come over, incur that same split for the first 12 months, and then I would return to Compass's traditional split, which again, their traditional split, they say, is common amongst other luxury brokerages, but I can tell you based on my experience, you're gonna be paying anywhere from 8 to 12%. And honestly, the biggest part and worst part is you're never going to cap. Now, one good news that Robert Redfin, which is the CEO of Compass, did have to say is their agent retention is 90%. Meaning for every 9 out of 10 agents that join Compass, they remain with Compass, which honestly is a tremendous retention percentage, but we're gonna have to see what happens in the next 6 to 12 months as far as retention, as well as growth with Compass, to see where they truly wind up with the market changing. Now, this is very, very similar to Redfin's situation, where you've got a high amount of salaried staff individuals compared to the amount of agents on the team. Now, obviously Compass is not as heavy because the whole purpose behind Redfin is bring on staff that are already licensed agents, and then you're gonna have some individuals that are already licensed but not staff members, but they're very, very heavy in staff. Compass is very, very heavy in staff as well. Moving with the real estate market and kind of the trend that it's going in, I could say a very, very good direction to head is towards a brokerage that's gonna be more remote or more what we call virtual. Now, there are a handful of virtual brokerages out there, but with virtual brokerages, the entire premise behind the brokerage is to get rid of staff members, to not require so much staff members that it hurts you in a situation like the turning real estate market. On top of that, there's no brick and mortar, which is gonna be able to save you a tremendous amount of money in the long term as well. I would say those are probably gonna be your 2 largest expenses, meaning staff and brick and mortar. Now, in other real estate news, at the beginning of this month, Opendoor, which if you're not familiar with Opendoor, it's not a company that's well liked in the real estate industry, but it is a real estate company with intentions to really go after individual sellers that are in a rough situation and need to sell their home, but they need to sell their home quick. So they sell it quick to Opendoor. Opendoor comes in and does a quick rehab or does a quick turnaround and puts it back on the market for above, oftentimes far above, what they purchased it for to be able to profit. Now, at the beginning of August, they got fined $62 million for misleading sellers. And I can see that easily happening with the company and its tactic. Now, I obviously go through transactions oftentimes with Opendoor, and there's nothing bad to say necessarily about the company, but it is not something that I personally thought was the best decision for a seller to reach out to a company that's trying to take advantage of them. Now, that set of news came out at the beginning of August, and just a few days later, Opendoor decided to partner with the largest real estate website that we all know called Zillow. Zillow also, I believe maybe 6 months ago, admitted that they were terminating completely their iBuyer program. Their iBuyer program, to give you guys an idea, again, is very similar to Opendoor, and they were trying to compete with one another. Basically give you the option to sell your home to Zillow, or Zillow will buy your home. They'll obviously buy it at a discount, do what they need to do to put it back on the market and sell it for a profit. However, they bought so many homes, and they bought so many homes at such a premium price that they lost a considerable amount of money. Now, yes, Opendoor did get fined $62 million, but to give you guys some idea here, over the last 3.5 years, the reason why Zillow got out of the iBuyer program is they lost north of $3 billion trying to buy houses and resell them. So this obviously comes full circle with Zillow now partnering with Opendoor, a company that I don't know if they're profitable or not, but they were far better than what Zillow was operating at as far as being an iBuyer program. And together they're gonna create this massive iBuyer program. Zillow's no longer gonna be purchasing homes, they're gonna be helping Opendoor purchase homes. So what does this mean for real estate agents and real estate investors, as well as just the normal individual looking to buy a home? I'm never gonna suggest that you don't look at a home. I'm never gonna suggest or steer you away from a home, but I would be definitely careful if you come across a home that's gonna be owned by Zillow or Opendoor. Just like any other home, I would suggest that you highly do your due diligence. So yes, the real estate market is changing. My business is changing just as much as all of the large real estate companies out there, and their business is changing. I work for Real Brokerage on the back end. I can see changes that they are making, even being a virtual brokerage, to adapt to the ever-changing market that we're in. Now, I can say gladly that the company I work for is a virtual brokerage, and they are quite profitable. We are still very, very early in our stages with just 6,000 agents across 40 in some states, 45, 46 states, but I'm excited to continue to grow this brokerage and see where it takes me. Now, the big question for honestly everyone in the real estate world is, where is Redfin going to go? Where is Compass going to go? Are they going to be around in 5 to 10 years? It's a big question that honestly none of us can answer. We can only just sit around and wait, but those adjustments made from those companies, obviously no one likes to get fired, and I know personally people that are being laid off, both by Redfin, by Opendoor, by Zillow, by Compass, all these companies that are very, very heavily staffed. It's unfortunate to lose your job, especially in a situation where it may not be easily available to get another job, but it's a situation just like myself. When I let go of my employees, I let go of 1 or 2 of my employees, and I have a very small real estate team. Can only imagine how many employees those large real estate brokerages laid off. It's the unfortunate side of real estate, and obviously we would have loved to have a real estate market just continue to blow up, in which it has. But again, as I mentioned before, it's not sustainable and it's not healthy at all for real estate to continue to go up in the way and the appreciation rate that it did. It's just not sustainable. I personally am excited to be able to see how companies adjust to this situation that we're in a slowing market. It's kind of the analytical side of me to be able to see how companies handle the back end systems, the back end of really growing a business. Me personally, never being a business owner and kind of doing all this on my own and learning as I go. It's kind of cool to see these large companies and how they adapt so quickly and so heavily to markets or just a changing in the direction of a company. So that's all I got as far as the real estate market and the brokerages that are making changes. I appreciate all your guys' support. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help, and stay tuned for the next video.